Stranded. Obi-Wan Kenobi, Anakin Skywalker, and his Padawan Ahsoka Tano are caught in the middle of a treacherous battle between good and evil. The scales now tip toward the dark side. Our three warriors must guard against attack as they plan their escape. A great weight has been placed on Anakin's shoulders, for it is now that he must face who he really is.
Bucketheads, Mavar Tigar, welcome to the 120th Dark Side Deceiving episode of Mandovision. Nargai Tom, and thank you so much for checking out this small, independent Star Wars podcast. Remember, the best way to reach out to us is on social media at Mando_Vision on Twitter and Instagram. You can email the show, mandovisiontom@gmail.com. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and share the show with all the other Mandalorians in your covert. Hey, how's everyone doing? Happy New Year. 2022 is here, and we are blazing a path talking about a show that's 11 years old. It's very exciting, but we're here. It's Mandovision. What's it going to be, Monday, Tuesday? I don't know what day we're dropping this, but again, 2022 is here. We're in the Book of Boba Fett. We're reading chapter by chapter, and again, another reminder that it is a great time to be a Star Wars fan, and I'm so glad we're all here together on the Mandovision podcast. Thank you for tuning in and supporting the show. Truly, truly appreciate it. We're here to conclude the Mortis trilogy, Season 3, Episode 17, Ghosts of Mortis. The original air date for this episode, was February 11th, 2011. You know the trilogy well. It's one of those just really, really interesting episode arcs of this entire season, or of this entire series, the season in particular. But so much to talk about with Mortis, so many things to examine, and I think this is now that we're getting to this episode, I think moving forward with the show, when we get to more episodes that spend more time talking about Jedi mysticisms and you know, the different philosophies of the Force, as the show kind of gets into more of its own mythology, we will look back and be able to reference Mortis now, because we've reached this point. It was always something that, knowing these episodes were coming in the future, I didn't want to talk about things that hadn't happened yet in the show. But now that we're there, we have a fixed point on which to refer back to things, which is going to be fun. It's going to be exciting because these 3 episodes, again, they're an onion. They are the gift of the Daily of the Month Club all year long. It is a gift that keeps on giving. So we look back at this and again, fixed point in our Clone Wars canon for Force stuff. Good things to look at. And again, it'll bleed into Rebels too. You know it will. Let's do our plot for this week. The Sun shows Anakin a vision of the future to sway him to his side. Obi-Wan and Ahsoka must make sure the Sun does not leave Mortis aboard their Jedi shuttle. Like we talked about last week, it kind of turns into a big game of keep away. Don't let him get into the shuttle. Make sure you can't leave on the shuttle. The episode this week, directed by Stuart Lee, written once again by Christian Taylor. Our cast this week, you know it well by now. No one new's really added to the mix. Matt Lanter is Anakin Skywalker. Lloyd Shearer is the father. James Arnold Taylor is Obi-Wan Kenobi. Sam Witwer is the son. Ashley Eckstein is Ahsoka Tano. Liam Neeson returns as Qui-Gon Jinn. D. Bradley Baker is the Clone Troopers. Tom Kane is the narrator. You get a little peek at Ian Abercrombie as Darth Sidious, and even a little Catherine Tabor as Padme Amidala in this one. Our Jedi fortune cookie. Let me get to that in a minute. I don't know how much I want to say about this episode in before we really dive into it proper, because there's so much to. I don't know. Again, I want to pull these layers back, I guess, piece by piece. So maybe we will just get into the Jedi fortune cookie right now, and yeah, he who seeks to control fate shall never find peace. And a lot of this you can infer onto Anakin. Again, trying to head off a fate that he's been shown by the Son. But we're going to talk about that as we get to that scene, because there's so much to discuss. I keep saying that. So let's just get to it. Let's just get into the discussion. Let's do it. You know what time it is. It's time. Strap on your buckets. Let's go.
Where are you going?
To see the Father. I'm not convinced that the Son will be contained here without our help. Perhaps we should make a stand.
Anakin.
If I don't get the Father's blessing to leave, it'll haunt me forever.
So guilt's a big motivator for Anakin in this beginning opening segment of the series. We're dealing with the death of the daughter still, the ramifications of that, the father now alone, and the Force out of balance on Mortis, and Anakin's rejection of that is haunting him, and he talks about that specifically when he says to Obi-Wan that unless the Father gives him permission to leave, it will stay with him and haunt him forever. So yeah, a very, very literal words coming out of his mouth. Anakin just started coming to grips with the fact that, yeah, his choices here have had a devastating consequence. And what's going to happen now? The Son seems to be out of control. The Son seems to be spiraling down to the path of the dark side. And he's not comfortable with them just leaving the planet. Anakin wants to try and get some resolution, some closure to this situation, and aid the Father in some way. He talks to Obi-Wan about it, about making a stand and putting it into the dark side. The conversation with the Father when Anakin meets up with him in an attempt to get his blessing to leave or to persuade him into a course of action is very, very interesting. I want to go ahead and play that for you all because, again, there's just a lot of interesting little nuggets of information here. And the way the Father sort of has come around, the way the Father is sort of now realizing what he has to do in the wake of the daughter's death, and how to prevent the Son's ever-growing hunger for power. So let's go ahead and play this little bit here.
Do not underestimate my son. He will seek your ship to escape our isolation and sow terror through the universe. And while you are here, he will use you to do it.
What will you do, now that he's given himself over to the dark side?
It is my actions that have unleashed great danger on the universe. I must kill him.
But he's too powerful for you alone.
Perhaps. Perhaps not. The Force will decide.
I can help you.
The choice is no longer yours to make. Both our destinies are clouded. This place is strong with the Force. Darkness has no hold here. Go. Ask, and you will know what to do.
Alright, so Anakin's about to go off on a little bit of a vision quest, but what the Father says to him there, what the Father's talking about, both of their destinies are now muddled. Anakin's rejection of the Chosen One, right? At least in this particular iteration of the prophecy, if the Father believes Anakin to be the Chosen One, to stay here on Mortis to maintain the balance between the Son and the daughter. I think the Jedi prophecy of the Chosen One is while similar, is different. Obviously, Anakin gets told that line to him. Obi-Wan throws it in his face in Episode 3 about destroying the Sith and restoring order to the balance to the Force through that methodology. Clearly, the Jedi have that tilt on the Chosen One prophecy, and by extension, the Sith probably have their own version of the Chosen One prophecy as well. So you're dealing with the philosophical differences between all the different various factions of Force users in the galaxy who have a shared prophecy of a Chosen One, right? But we, as the observers, we know Anakin's path. We know Anakin's fate. So to hear that his path is now muddled, is now clouded, it seems almost as if this choice is just another big stepping stone on Anakin's path to the dark side, to his inevitable destiny as Darth Vader. And obviously, as the episode goes, and he's shown that very future, he makes the choice to align with the dark side to prevent it. So it all just sort of seems like he's choosing one thing to prevent another, but they're all bad. They're all bad choices that Anakin gets, and we'll talk about those as we get to the sequence with the son. And again, there's some really good clips in this one, so I'm going to keep another one for you all to check out in just a moment. Yeah, the first one we're going to check out is Anakin on his vision quest. Here we go.
You have grown strong and powerful, just as I imagined.
Master,
Do you believe you are the chosen one?
how can I know?
I can tell you what I believe. I believe you will bring balance to the Force, that you will face your demons and save the universe.
And this creature of the dark side, do I leave or do I stay and kill him?
Neither. Look deeper. You will find another way.
I don't understand.
Not far from here, there is a place which is strong in the dark side of the Force. You must go there.
And destroy the sun.
Remember your training, Anakin. Trust your instincts.
Master. Master!
All right, so Anakin, as confused as ever on what he's supposed to do here, he's really just looking for some guidance. But as usual, as with mysticism, there is vulgarity that must be handled, must be dealt with. As Qui-Gon tells him, he has to find another way. But by the end of the episode, we have to ask ourselves a question: did he find another way? I mean, everything gets thrown out of whack in the next sequence when Anakin has his confrontation with the brother in that place rich with the dark side, which I'm going to double check, and I'll get back to you in a moment, but I'm pretty sure there is Sith symbology in that area. We talked a little bit about some of the symbology around Mortis in the previous episode, but if memory serves, it's very distinctly a Sith image, which is interesting considering the claims of both the Father and the Son that the Jedi and the Sith are sort of beneath them because they are these pure Force beings who ascribe to no set philosophy. So I'm going to cue that clip up with the sun, and I'm going to double check some of the symbols there too. So while Anakin is on his quest, he's about to go meet up with the sun. We go back to the Jedi Starship where we initially started the episode at, before Anakin rode off. And I do have a little bit of a question for everybody out there, and I thought it was interesting. Now, perhaps I'm forgetting something. I don't want to say that my memory is a steel trap and nothing has escaped it over the years. But I was a little surprised to see that Ahsoka is the one doing the repairs on the ship. I always thought Anakin is more of the gearhead of the group, the one who would be doing the repairs. Not to say that Ahsoka is not capable, and perhaps it's part of her training. Perhaps this is something that Anakin, a skill that he's attempting to impart onto his Padawan. But I was surprised to not see Anakin being the one down in the maintenance shaft, getting the repairs going for the ship. But I did like seeing Ahsoka doing it, so it works out just fine. And obviously Anakin is sort of his heavy head, heavy mind. A lot of on his good Lord, heavy head. He has a lot in his mind right now with everything that has transpired on Mortis to this point. So now we go back to the ship. The father arrives to chat with Obi-Wan Kenobi and Ahsoka by extension. And Obi-Wan not excited to find out that Anakin has gone off to confront the son. And so now Obi-Wan wants to get involved. And let's go ahead and play a little bit from that because I think Obi-Wan has a very, very good perspective. And I want to share with everybody here. Check this out.
Anakin has gone to confront your son, hasn't he?
Deep within this planet exists a place where all that is dark is channeled.
And how do I get there?
You cannot interfere.
The way I see it, if we were not supposed to interfere, Ahsoka and I wouldn't be here in the first place. Look after the ship. I'm going to find Anakin.
And there he goes. So we're going to check back in at the sort of like the well of the dark side, and we will get to see. Well, we're not going to get to see anything because we're on a podcast. But when you're watching the episode, this is when the son will employ this tactic of piercing the veil of time, if you will, and showing Anakin his fated path, his destiny now, and Anakin's reaction to it, the horror as he sees what he does and what he becomes. And now, in an effort to avoid that path, he will side with the son, and all under the guise that the son's going to bring peace. But as we know from the Sith, the kind of peace they bring, not all that peaceful. Not all that peaceful. All right, so as we get ready to play this clip, I want you to note the kind of music, the music playing in the background. It's real low, sort of inaudible. I'm going to turn our speakers up just a little bit here, so that hopefully it comes through a little bit more clearly. But listen to what's playing underneath as the son and Anakin continue their conversation.
I have a gift for you.
I have had enough of your trickery.
Oh, but you'll like this one, I promise. What if I could show you the future?
All right, so there is. Now he's getting his mind clouded. He's seen the horrible images of what is to come, the nightmare scenario. We're seeing familiar figures swirling around because we know Anakin's fate. We know what happens in Episode 3. And then obviously the big image, the iconic image of Vader's helmet behind him, seeing what Anakin's final steps will be in his fall from grace, on his fall to the dark side. And it shakes him. It shakes him to his core, and he's about to make another really bad choice in order to avoid one bad fate. He's about to choose another.
I will do such terrible things.
Yes. But it doesn't have to be that way. The choice is still yours to make.
How?
The future, by its nature, can be changed. Join me, and together we will destroy this Emperor you see in your visions. Then we shall end war, corruption, and suffering throughout the galaxy.
Will we bring peace?
Of course.
It's shortly after this that Obi-Wan arrives in the well of the dark side, and promptly has his little portable speeder bike kicked into the lava and left behind by Anakin. And we see Anakin in a very dark side mode, right? Like a lot of black around the eyes. You can kind of see the darkness within him. Obi-Wan wisely is able to radio ahead. They must have really powerful communicators to get around all that stone and granite and rock that's surrounding him in that giant well. But good for him. He's able to get a hold of Ahsoka, warns him that Anakin and the son are coming for the ship. She takes a vital component, to disable the ship, so no one's going to be leaving. It's at this point that the son and Anakin split up, but they know where everyone's going, right? The son is going to head off. He wants to go get the Blade of Mortis from his sister's grave, and Anakin is going to go track down the component, right? Not so fast, my friends. The father intervenes, and the father, seeing what his son has done to Anakin, he knows that he has broken the laws, right? He has pierced the veil of time, something that is forbidden. In order to sort of correct this, the father is going to remove the memories of this vision from Anakin's mind. This is going to be sort of a reset for Anakin. He will have that future knowledge taken from him in order to get back on the path of the light side. This sets up our final confrontation between everyone.
What? You're going to kill me now?
I held hope that you could resist the dark side. But I see now, there is no going back.
Father.
No! What have you done?
All right, just because we're an audio podcast, you kind of need to know what happened there. This is the moment where the father takes the blade of Mortis and stabs himself fatally. And we're about to hear the why as the son is losing his mind at what he just saw.
It did not have to be this way!
Yes, my child. It did. You and I are tied together. And your strength runs through me. This way, I take your power.
Please, don't die.
I always knew there was good in you.
And so you have betrayed me, Father.
All right, so in case, again, we're an audio podcast, and unless you're watching the episode with us, that is the moment with the son and the father embrace that Anakin is able to come up from behind. Again, not the most heroic way to do things, but stabs the son through the back and the father as well, just clean through, and ends the threat of the son. What happens now is also very interesting stuff, so we're going to kind of pick up with the father's final moments as he is attempting to talk with Anakin about what is to come.
It is done.
And now, I die. My heart broken. But knowing the role you will play.
And what is that?
You are the chosen one. You have brought balance to this world. Stay on this path, and you will do it again for the galaxy. But beware your heart.
And so the father fades into the Force, and Anakin knows, he's been told, that his time as the Chosen One is not done. There is another time to be this one, to bring balance to the Force. Yes, he's done it now, and not in the way that anyone expected, but there will be another opportunity. But he must be mindful of his heart, of his feelings. And we know that his inability to let go is the key to Anakin's downfall. It is what Sidious seizes on to turn him to the dark side. And that's always been, again, Anakin's greatest weakness, right? His inability to let go, to accept death, to accept loss. And this underscores that so nicely. And it also is sort of fun to think about how differently things could have gone. You know, somewhere out there, I'm sure someone has written a piece of fan fiction, or, you know, maybe there's like a sort of a Star Wars Elseworlds out there where someone has Anakin follow through with the promise of the Chosen One and end the Clone Wars and end Darth Sidious right there in Episode 3. And it's a happy, joyful occasion for Anakin. You know, it's not the tragedy of Anakin Skywalker anymore. It's about him being a hero. It's fun to think about that in a sense. But again, the father knows. The father tells him. The father warns him, just like everyone else has warned him in his time. His attachments are his ultimate downfall. Again, going back to Episode 1, you know, Yoda says it. Anakin is too old to begin the training. He's too attached to things already as a small child. And he's not able to let go of that feeling. He's not able to not be attached. And that is a fun part of Jedi lore, of Jedi mythology, of their philosophy, right? We've seen it in so many different iterations of Star Wars media. You know, there's a lot of it in the High Republic series right now, if you're reading those books, where the young Jedis, the young Padawans, even the young Knights, they have to sort of deal with their feelings of attachment, because you don't want attachment, but you don't want to be detached from the universe, from the galaxy, from life. You know, you want to make connections and forge bonds with people. So in many ways, again, and Anakin's talked about this in episode 2. It all kind of ties together. But it has to do with nature, right? It has to do with things happen, bad things happen, tragedies happen, people die, and you have to accept that they have joined with the Force. They become one with the galaxy, one with the energy field that binds us all together. And Anakin's inability to do that is what prevents him from ever being able to fulfill the next half of the Chosen One prophecy, right? Ending the Clone Wars, ending the Sith threat, and restoring balance to the Force. Now, again, the argument can be made. Again, if I don't want to go too deep into the philosophical rabbit hole that is balance to the Force, because some would argue, some have argued, it's out there on the internet, that the Force is already out of balance because there are so many Jedi, just to the comparison of so many Sith. So the balance of the Force is heavily to the light side. And by enabling Order 66 to be enacted and wiping out the Jedi, not completely, we know, that is in essence restoring balance to the Force from the Sith perspective. So again, there's no rights and wrongs in any of this stuff. It's all philosophy, right? It's all interpretation, as we have learned so very much from Star Wars. It's all about a certain point of view, right? And that is very much the prophecy of the Chosen One. From a certain point of view, it is one thing to one group, it is one thing to another. But Anakin, as that Chosen One, is sort of the greatest victim in all of it, because he is, I don't want to say manipulated. He's manipulated by Sidious and Palpatine, Sidious/Palpatine, if you will. But he sort of becomes his own victim from the Jedi perspective, from the light side perspective, because he's unable to do these things because of his attachments. Again, we can go down this all day, and it's more of a fun debate to have with another person in the room. Right now it's just me kind of like rambling, so I don't want to do that for too much longer. But that is the Mortis trilogy. Our heroes, they get on the ship. The father, the son, the daughter, now dead. They return to their ship, and they are going to leave Mortis. No, they don't actually take it back. They don't even make it back to the ship, right? Like, it just kind of happens that they wake up back on their ship, back at the coordinates where Rex and Yularen were when they were initially dispatched to the distress signal at the beginning of the first episode, at the beginning of the Overlord's episode. And Rex is like, oh, you're out of communication for a few moments. And Anakin's puzzled by that because they've clearly been gone for several days. And it's almost as if it never happened, right? It's I said it during the Overlord episode. It's sort of a Star Trekian kind of moment. This distress call, disturbance, sucked into a construct and taken someplace far, far away, and then returned with no one knowing the wiser that anything had happened except for you and your party, right? Again, it's not overtly Star Trek. It's part of the sci-fi genre by and large. But to see Star Wars embrace it is really, really fun, and I enjoy that aspect of it quite a bit. So yeah, that is how we conclude Mortis. It's 9 buckets, 9 big old buckets for me. I'm a big fan of this series, this 3-episode arc in particular. And again, like I said before, now we have a fixed point for referencing future Jedi mysticism episodes, and we are going to get into many, many more of those during the remainder of the run of this show. So we now have a fixed point for many, many things, and that's exciting. I'm looking forward to being able to like, hey, remember that Mortis trilogy we talked about? This is why it's still a big deal. All right, I think we're going to get out of here. But before we do that, things are a little bit different now. We have gone into 2022, and as you may know, if you're a longtime listener of the show, we now have a Patreon. It's been remolded, rebranded. It's the old Patreon for another podcast that I have recently retired. Well, retired is a strong word. I've sort of converted into a Patreon show for the Mandovision podcast. And which means we have Patreon supporters, and I want to give them a big old shout out, because without their help, we wouldn't have continually upgrading equipment. We wouldn't have our hosting fees covered. The Patreons do a lot to keep the show going and to make sure that we continue to deliver a high quality product for your listening pleasure. If you want to consider being a Patreon, it's patreon.com/MandoVision. Pretty easy. You can join, become a Mandovision maniac, gets access to the bonus content, depending on what tier you pick, or you just get a rad shout out, like these fine people here. Thank you to our current Patreons, the Aspen Hill Chody, the Batman Abejo, Jeff Nail. Jeff also co-hosts The Ringing Ear, a great music podcast that I recommend. Check them out. Thanks to Evil Circle, the evilest of all circles, the Squid Master General, Mr. Brian Broussard, the New Jersey Devil, Mark Wegemer, our very own Joker and Harley Quinn, Brian and Krista of Pariah Brewing Company, here in San Diego, and coming soon to Baltimore, Maryland, the Beer Hop Brigadier General, Jesus Beer Hops, and the silent assassin, he who shall not be named. Thank you so much for sticking with us as we do this conversion from the Tomcast Popcast to Mandovision. I truly, truly appreciate all of you sticking around, and I hope you'll enjoy what we have coming up. All right, let's go ahead. Let's get out of here. This has been Mandovision. What episode are we on? 120? Yo, side note, you may notice last week's episode, the last Mortis episode, the middle chapter, numbered wrong. Sorry about that. I said a number forgetting that I had to record Boba Fett, so it's a little out of whack. But it's numbered correctly in your feed, so you're okay there. All right, we'll be back very, very soon. I believe the next episode will be Chapter 2, The Book of Boba Fett. I can't wait. It's going to be awesome. All right, everyone, let's get out of here. You know this podcast can only end one way. This is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way.